Hello everyone, it is a tiny baby fishy here with today's Langle. I'm sitting outside, it's a lovely day. Decided to get a little bit of sun on my skin. But that may mean you'll hear the occasional bird, plane or car, and if that is the case I do apologise. It's just such a lovely day I couldn't really resist. So level 1 of today's Langle, and looking at it, I recognise this one straight off the bat. This is Indonesian, Malaysian. I had a couple of friends at my high school. It's close to home. A couple of my friends at my high school studied Indonesian as their elective language. It was offered at my school. Um, but I would say a lot of people here in Australia would be familiar with at least what Indonesian looks like, especially if they've been on holidays to Bali or places like that. They would have seen it around. How can you tell? Well, I mean, apart from just being familiar with the language, this word here, orang, it's a dead giveaway. This means man or person, orang-orang. That's actually, I can't remember what the utan part of orangutan means, but that's where we get that word from. It's something along the lines of tree person, forest person, something like that. But that is, I believe, and fact check me on this if you want, where the word orangutan comes from. It is orang, person, plus utan, something else, and we encountered those first as English speakers in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, in Indonesia. What else do you have? Words beginning with D, like this. D is a pretty common prefix in Indonesian. An at the end of this word, persaudaraan, daraan. And in fact, this might be a circumfix. I can't quite remember whether this is both the per and the an, and the root is saudara, or it could be per saudara, and then the root being an. Anyway, and dan. Dan is a good word to identify Indonesian by. Now, they do have both Indonesian and Malay on this list, which is slightly frustrating. It would be nice if we had probably the only word that I know to be different between the two languages, which is the word for no or not. In Indonesian it's tidak, and in Malaysian I believe it's more common to say tak. I'm going to go with Indonesian, but it could well be Malay. It's one of the two. And we once again have this issue where the confirm button is hidden. I may have to reload the page to fix that, but we've got it in one. Indonesian. Beautiful. Indonesian being an Austronesian language, a Malayo-Sumbawan language from the Austronesian family, and spoken, who knew, in Indonesia. That's a very funny place to put the pin for Indonesia, because it is probably in like the geographical center, but it's just out there in the water. That's a very funny place to put the pin. Now, this one is another one that I'm going to be able to get first guess. This is going to be Albanian. I'm sorry, Albanian. Mental blank there. Now, one of the giveaways for Albanian here is going to be this E with a diaresis on top, like this. I'm not quite sure. It won't highlight for me. Come on. Nothing's highlighting. Okay, let's do that. Oh, then we can do that. That's what I'm talking about. That E with the accent on top. That's quite common in Albanian. I can't remember what sound it represents, whether it's a short E or whether it's a palatalization on the previous consonant or something of the sort. Now, there are other languages that have got an E with a diaresis on top. This isn't the only one. But then when we look at some of the construction of some of these words, these consonant clusters at the start of the word, like nd, yor, tyo, I'm reading it as though it's a Russian yo, which is almost certainly not the way to read it. Where else have we got one? Gye up here in Gita, ny. These are very much not a feature in many of the other languages that use this E with a diaresis. So, Albanian. I will submit that guess, and I will be pretty shocked if it's wrong. Alright, so having a pretty good run so far. I am ready for Albanian, Indo-European language spoken in Albania and Serbia. I am pretty ready for a level 3 now to make a fool of me, but we'll see how we do. Okay, so as expected, this is something with which I am not familiar. But, okay, let's have a look at it and see what we can figure out here. So we have got, in this word, for example, this SH, which is probably a sh. So we know this is a language that does have sh in it. Um, there's some evidence as an ambulance passes that they have both long consonants and long vowels. Long consonants are not something that many English speakers will have an intuition for, but if you speak a language like, let's think here, Tamil is one, Italian is another, languages from other parts of the world with long consonants, not quite as sure, but essentially you just hold the consonant for twice as long. So there will be a difference, potentially. I don't know if hatak is a word, but there would be a difference here between hatak, if that's a word, and hatak with the T. It's almost like you say the T twice, but you don't go hatak. There's no gap between them, and you just hold the T for longer. Hatak versus hatak. Now, we have these apostrophes here, which in this context almost certainly indicate a glottal stop. What do I mean by a glottal stop? It's the sound in the middle of uh-oh. So that little in the middle, that uh-oh, you close your throat off in between the two sounds instead of it just being oh, where it just all smushes together. And so that becomes important in a word like this, which you could say as kio, or you could say as kiyo, with a stop in the middle. Bikacha. And although it's quite hard to hear if it's not a phoneme in your language, at the end of words or at the start of words also, so himaka, and then you have to close your throat off before starting the next word, so you would never run these words together like himaka nita kokano. It would be himaka nita kokano. You have to stop. Now, there are accents on some of these vowels, and this could be a two-way tone contrast. It could be low tone versus accent means high tone. It could also be, depending on the orthography, it could function like the accents in a language like Spanish or French, where it tells you, not French actually, but Spanish, where it tells you which syllable gets the accent, which syllable is stressed. So potentially telling us that this should be momakat instead of momakat or momakat. And that would maybe be relevant if, for example, the stress normally falls on the last syllable, or the second syllable, or the second to last syllable, something like that. So you could contrast, for example, hatak, maybe that's hatak, and every word here would be like hatak yo kasht, toksa lichanikat, ki yo hatak, but then momakat. There are a few options. The length of some of these words, particularly this last word here, itiba chafahitok, it makes me think of North America. I could be well off the mark there. So we're going to have a look at the options here. And what do we have? Not many from North America, really. Oh, there we go. Cherokee, Chickasaw, Chickasaw. What else we got? There's almost certainly Ojibwe on this list. That's a pretty common one to throw in there. I don't think it is Ojibwe though. I mean, it could be. I'm not super familiar with indigenous languages of America, unfortunately, aside from Inuktitut, which is very easily recognizable and is usually given as one of the, like, not intro, but sort of intro to agglutinative languages, which are languages like, say, Turkish, where instead of breaking things apart into separate words like English does, which is called analytic, you know, I will go, they would just put affixes. They just keep adding chunks onto the verb itself. And in some languages, they can do this to the extent that an entire sentence can look like a single word. The famous example coming, I believe, from a language called Nuhalk, which I cannot pronounce and I won't try to, but it means he or she will have had in his or her possession a bunchberry plant, and it's one very long word. It may even be one syllable, but it also doesn't have many vowels in it. It's lots of sibilant consonants. They've got like a as in German, I suppose, and they've also got like in Welsh, like Llywelyn, that sort of thing. They have a lot of interesting sounds going on in that language. You may have noticed if you've watched a few of these videos that I will just talk, and that is mainly to put off making a guess, but partially because I also want to show off what I know, and help you to learn some of it too. Micmac? I don't think so. I think Micmac orthography has more Q's in it than this did. Nahuatl? Navajo? Maybe. That is definitely an audible plane, and for that I apologize. We're just going to wait that out. While we're waiting that out, I'm going to guess Ojibwe. I don't know why I've decided on that, but yeah, so we're quite close. We are most likely in North America then. North America being the continental US, Canada, Mexico. I think once you get south of Mexico, by most definitions, it becomes Central America. So if we're close with that, maybe we should look at some of these other ones that I know to be Cherokee, Chippewa, Chickasaw. Cherokee, maybe. And we're getting warmer. Okay, so something that is geographically very close to Cherokee. It would be great if I could remember where Cherokee was spoken. That would help me a lot. I mean, obviously I know it's spoken in the US, but I don't actually have a great bead on where different First Nations groups are located within the US, despite knowing the names of the more famous ones. Chickasaw, I think, is not up there. Chippewa, I'm less sure about. What else do we have here? He looked into it. I don't. It's no. Brilliant. No. Geez, that's South America. Khmer. It's in Cambodia. I may just have to start throwing guesses out there based on names of languages that I recognize, which is slightly Navajo? I'm pretty sure Navajo has some other syllables in its orthography, although I have looked a little bit at Navajo. Or was that Ojibwe? Anishinaabe-Moin. Whichever language self-describes as Anishinaabe-Moin. I made a TikTok a while ago about how verbs are conjugated in that language, talking about how different languages describe the fact that it's raining. They've got some really interesting verbal morphology going on in that language. It's stuff that just seems completely alien from the perspective of an English speaker. But let's continue down the list. And I'm thinking, Sequoia? Maybe? Shona? Shona, I don't think is up there, but I can't remember, so let's plug it in. Oh, okay. I've misidentified what language Shona is. I may be thinking of Shoshona. I don't know. Sequoia? Where do they grow sequoias? The trees, I mean. I feel like that's a Pacific Northwest thing, right? Yeah. I'm almost certain it's not Navajo. watch it now be Navajo, but Sinclair. Let's try that out. Okay, so further away. Ojibwe, Cherokee. I mean, do we try it with Chickasaw? Or Chichwa? I don't think Chickasaw's in the right sort of place, but let me just... I'm sure Chickasaw's further west. Hey, no, I'm wrong. Chickasaw. Look at that. We actually got one. Ah, so it is. Okay. Part of the Muskegean language family. Well, that's something I do recognize. Muskogee is in... what is that song called? Waiting Around to Die? Yeah. Yeah, seemed easy, I'm just waiting around to die. Anyway, we're down here in Mississippi. Muskogee, I believe, is in Tennessee, but I could be wrong. It could be in Mississippi. Okay. So I am curious. I'm going to do a bit of reading now about, oops, we've done it again, about where different language families in the continental US are located, because that's something I could do with brushing up on as well. I do actually feel pretty strongly about Indigenous languages, First Nations languages, both here at home and in other places like Maori, like all of the First Nations languages in the continental US, or Turtle Island if you prefer, and Canada, and South America. I think that language diversity is a great thing to have, and to that end, I should probably try to learn a bit more about those languages and walk the walk, so to speak. But we've done it. We're 3 for 3 today on Langle. Took us a few guesses on level 3, but that's to be expected. But 2 hole-in-ones on the first 2 levels. So hope you're having a good day, and I will see you later for Lingual.